Hi, IBC family. Christina Villiana here with your midweek devotion. And this week, the question I have for you is, what do you reach for? So recently, our church just finished fasting week. And the point for many is that you're giving up something. You're giving up food, chocolate, coffee, TV time, in order to take those moments that you suddenly want, that thing that you give up, and you reach for God instead, to seek Him in the moments of hunger or desire for that special TV time or that special treat. The point is that when you have that moment, you seek God first, right? You seek His word. You reach for Him. And what became very significant to me during this time of fasting is that question of, what do you reach for? Even when you're not fasting. What do you reach for in that moment of crisis, that moment where the storm hits? Right now, the fasting week is over and life has resumed, right? What happens when you suddenly get hit with that storm or that phone call or that unexpected pothole in your journey? I know for me this week, I've had a little bit of that. I've had a few potholes in my journey. And in that moment, I heard inside my spirit, what are you going to reach for, right? What are you going to reach for first? Do you reach for your phone to call a friend? Is that the first thing you do? You reach for your phone to call a family member? Do you go to food because it brings you comfort? Do you go shopping because, hey, why not, right? Do you sit down because you just want that TV time and you need that time to yourself? That's what you reach for. And none of those things are wrong. But I guess the question really fine tunes to, what do you reach for first? You see, the point of fasting wasn't just to deprive the body of things that aren't the best for it. The point was to exchange what you reach for in that moment, right? Instead of reaching for all those things, we reach for God first. I'm reading a book by Wendy Speake, and I like how she said this, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit of what she said, but also using her own words. She said, each time we reach for God instead of other things, the Spirit of God floods into the empty spaces in our heart and life. And Satan hates losing ground. And that to me was such a profound statement. He hates losing ground because when we reach for God first, we infuse ourselves with love, with joy, with strength, with courage, with peace, and Satan loses ground. And remember, it's a spiritual battle that we're fighting. It's not a battle of flesh and blood, but like we've said in Ephesians 6, it's a spiritual battle. And sometimes it may feel like our potholes or our storms are too big, too much. But I love the story of Jehoshaphat. God said to him, "Do not be afraid and discouraged because of this vast army, for the battle is not yours, but God's." Now take a moment and just think, that vast army, that's your storm, that's your pothole, that's your suddenly in the middle of your week that came out unexpected. And God said, "Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Tomorrow, march down against them. You will not have to fight this battle. Take up your positions, stand firm, and see the deliverance the Lord will give you, Judah and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Go out to face them tomorrow, and the Lord will be with you." And that's 2 Chronicles 20:15-17. I love that moment. The battle is not yours, but God's. He said tomorrow, when you face your family, when you face your children or your crisis, your detour in life, tomorrow, you will not have to fight. Take your position. What is that position? That position is reaching for God. Take that position, right? It's standing firm on His word and His promises. And then it said, stand firm. Despite what you see, hear, feel, stand. He continued with, stand firm and see the deliverance the Lord will give you. That is with faith eyes, right? No matter what you were seeing in the natural, Jehoshaphat was seeing armies surrounding him. But God said, stand firm and see the deliverance that He will give you. No matter what you were seeing in the natural, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. I love that they use the word discouraged because sometimes you wake up day by day still seeing in the natural the same problem or feeling the same feels, the same health crises, the same financial crises. But He said, do not be afraid and do not be discouraged. Then He said, go out and face them. Face your storm and the Lord will be with you. That's what happens when you reach for him first. But what I love even more is that Jehoshaphat didn't, after he got told that, he didn't turn around and reach for his family and reach for his friends or reach for his phone or the TV. No, he didn't reach for anything in the natural. He reached for God. Even after being told that, he turned around and reached out again for God. It says immediately Jehoshaphat fell on his face and worshiped. And all the people followed, and then they praised him. And they kept reaching out for God until they saw their deliverance. There are so many times when you have a row with your kids, a family disagreement, a health crisis, a financial crisis, job issues, and you have to take that moment and say, what will you reach for? I had to do that this week. I had to take that moment and say, what will I reach for? And I'll leave you with this one more moment in the Word of God that I love, and it's in Luke 10:41 through 42. But the Lord replied to her by saying, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. How many of us can relate to Martha? There is need of only one or but a few things. Mary has chosen the good portion, that which is to her advantage, which shall not be taken away from her. Martha was like all of us, hitting our storm, a pothole, anxious and troubled about many things. But Jesus pointed out Mary. Mary reached for God. That's what I saw out of that verse. She reached for God. Mary chose wisely. She reached for what would allow her to become victorious without lifting a finger, because the battle was not hers, it was God's, and she reached for him. So as your week continues, ask yourself, what are you reaching for? Choose the good portion, that which is to your advantage. Reach for God, and have a great week.